I feel like I can get a tan. I feel like John Boehner.
Yeah. My questions are going to be just kind of for all of you to answer. So I mean, not everyone has to answer each one. So you guys can just kind of do it as you want. So thank you guys for being here. And one of my first questions is, back when Obama was running up for re-election, you know, Americans were asked, were you better now or were you better 4 years ago? And I mean, within those 4 years, obviously oil prices were doubled, unemployment was increasing. So what kind of things did you guys have to do in particular to like make sure that that wasn't like a big statistic in his running campaign?
Well, you know, I think people understood the circumstances under which the president took office, and that's something that we heard again and again. They understood that he took office in the midst of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The question they were asking themselves, and the question we wanted them to focus on, is where will we be 4 years from now? Are you going to be better off under the policies of Barack Obama or under the Republican policies of ultimately of Mitt Romney? Because elections are a choice, they're not a referendum. And so our job was to make sure that people understood what that choice was, and they had starkly different visions about what that future should be. Ultimately, the American people chose the president's vision of where we should go in the future.
So, kind of an easier question. What are some of your guys' like favorite parts about your job? What are some of the most rewarding things?
I think when you accomplish big things. So, you know, winning the presidency twice was terrific, but that just gives you the opportunity to try and do big things. So when he announces the Iraq war is over, or healthcare reform gets passed, or enact Wall Street reform, you know, we save the auto industry. You know, elections are really just the sort of funnel with which we then set the agenda. And so that gave him the opportunity to try and improve the country and move it in the direction he thought would give us the best chances. So I think those are the most really important moments.
Yeah, I can, you know, I have a child with a chronic illness, and like a lot of Americans, I faced very, very difficult times when she was a child because my insurance didn't cover much of what she needed. So the notion that we were able to elect a president who had the courage to take that issue on and succeed so that in the future families wouldn't have to go through what we went through was a very moving experience for me. It made the whole exercise worthwhile.
I mean, from my perspective, you know, every once in a while in a speech we'll include a story of a person the president's met or a letter that he's received. And over the 4 years, hearing stories about people whose lives were affected positively, like Alex was just saying about his own family, because of a policy the president passed, whether it's healthcare, whether it's a student being able to afford college, whether it's someone finding a job. And when you actually hear those people's stories, that makes the whole experience really rewarding, and it kind of brings it home.
So what kind of advice do you have for a student that's planning on getting to like a public service job like you guys have? What kind of advice would you give them?
You know, I would say a lot of these jobs, especially in join a campaign is my first piece of advice, because I think campaigns are very exciting and there's a lot of opportunity to showcase your talents and work hard and get recognized if you're doing a really good job. And I think that, you know, an entry-level job at the bottom of the totem pole is completely fine. You know, don't think that you're going to like jump on something and it has to give you all this responsibility, because it's very easy to work your way up.
This said by a guy who was Barack Obama's speechwriter at the age of 23, but go ahead.
At 22, I was up at 4 in the morning sending clips out and answering phones and staying up all night. So I do know what it's like. But.
And that the country needs young people. You know, we desperately need our most talented, you know, innovative people to spend a little bit of time. You know, it could be in a campaign, it could be working in government, it could be in a nonprofit, but we need them. And this is a really talented generation. We've been able to see up close how remarkable they are. And you know, we need them to get involved and try it. And it may not be your cup of tea, but you may find that you want to build a career out of it. But even if it's just a small part of your life, it can enrich, I think, the young person who's getting involved, but also, you know, their community and their country.
I mean, working with young people, you ask what are the best parts of our job? That's one of the best parts of our job, because in an environment where there's a great deal of cynicism and skepticism about politics and what we can do in public life, young people in this country today are very public spirited. They may be skeptical about politics, and it's our job to persuade them that that's an area worth exploring. But they're very serious about changing the world, and I think that collectively they will change the world in a positive way. So when people say they're pessimistic about the future, I always refer them to the young people who we know, who filled our campaign headquarters and did the work of the campaign, and it gives you hope.
So one other last question is, did you guys always agree with the president's policies when you guys were working for him? And like, if you didn't, how did you kind of work around that?
Now, occasionally we had to make him change the policies, but you know, that's just part of it.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if maybe I was just too close to the whole thing, but I never did.
Okay.
You know, there was never any major disagreement I had. I just, you know, I really strongly believed in his agenda. So it's funny though, you get that question a lot, and I just, you know.
and it sounds funny to say that,
Yeah.
but the truth is we all came together because we believed in certain things, and we were attracted to him because he represented those things, and because we believed in his judgment and his approach. And you know, it's rare to say in public life that you worked for someone who never disappointed you. And one of the great experiences of working for this president was that I never left there feeling like, boy, that wasn't what I expected. He's not the guy I thought he would be. He was always the same guy, day in and day out, same values, same determination, and that made it a pleasure to work with him.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, thank you.
One last favor.
Those
as
were
one-
tough questions. Good questions.
Could you
Yeah.
guys just look at this camera and then state your name and have one of you to say you're watching Albany Student Television?
Sure.
That would be great.
All right.
Thank you.
Right. I'm David Axelrod.
I'm John Favreau.
I'm David Clough, and you're watching Albany Student Television.
Thank you guys.